It is that time of the year when notable players are found competing for jobs on PTO contracts. Johnny, this process is one of the fascinating storylines of the early portion of the hockey season.
Yeah, different guys at different points in their career, but they haven't been able to find the right fit for the right amount of money for whatever reason. And so they end up trying to pick a spot where there might be a chance to make a team. PTO, professional tryout. They're going into camp, no contract, nothing promised. PTO, you can go to the LA King camp, and if the Anaheim wants to sign you out of LA, you can just take off to Anaheim in the middle of the camp. There's nothing promised on either side. But you're basically trying to find a team that maybe there's a fit or a need for your particular game.
And typically guys that are very senior stage in their career. We're talking about guys that are probably well into their 30s at this point and looking to knock down another year or two towards the end of their career. And oftentimes a pretty good value, assuming you can make a club out of camp.
And that's part of it, because the teams know if one of these guys makes the team, they're getting paid the league minimum. So you know what they're going to cost. And basically when you go in there saying, I'm going to have to beat out a young player. I'm going to have to show that the 20-year-old is not as capable as I am for this season upcoming, and let the team know, don't trust the younger player, trust a veteran guy who maybe has a bit more experience, that you know what you're going to get.
Plenty of experience for Jordie Benn, a name that jumped out to you on that screen. Why?
Well, you know, a veteran piece that I think in the right circumstance, that Dallas might just be that circumstance. There's a little muscle memory here. Remember, going back to 2017, as recently as 2017, Jordie Benn was then a member of the Dallas Stars. But this is, you know, kind of a revisit or reset to some degree. And Jordie Benn is a seasoned NHL defender, maybe very much in the context of a Radko Gudas light, but plays solid, dependable minutes. Would be somebody that's going to kind of compete for a number 7 in the right circumstance. And again, Dallas knows there's a history here. We know what Jordie Benn brings in the locker room. We know there's familiarity. There's a connection, both personal and relational, familial. Brother Jamie, a potential teammate.
Hey, Johnny. Josh Bailey, a lot of history, but with one particular franchise, the Islanders, he has your attention.
He does, because he's, you know, last year was a tough year for him, but he's been a really good player his whole time with the Islanders. You know, more of a passer than a goal scorer, can play up and down the lineup, can kill some penalties, occasionally slides in the middle, but generally a winger. You think about Ottawa, who on their third line, they have Kubalik down there, Pinto, they have to get him straightened away. Maybe Ridley Gregg might play wing, but he's probably better served at center. So maybe one more winger on the third line. Josh Bailey could fill that void very nicely. And if there's an injury, he has played top 6 minutes virtually his entire career. So you want one of those guys who has some versatility. Seems like it might make a lot of sense. Would not surprise me to see him make Ottawa.
Hey, Grimmer, blast from the past. We've heard the name Sam Gagner for years and years. He has your focus. Why?
Because I think he could make a contribution. Again, a guy that, you know, it's a low-risk, high-reward, potentially, a guy that is a very seasoned veteran, had a relatively productive stint with Winnipeg last year, but could step into a circumstance and win a spot in probably the bottom part of your roster, third or fourth line duty, depending on the circumstances. But Sam Gagner is the kind of guy, given his tenure, and especially coming back and taking a look at that Oilers roster again, that may be able to make a contribution. So this will be an interesting one to keep an eye on as well. Just 34 years of age. And you know what? Surprised me. Over the course of his 1,000+ games, going all the way back to #1 draft pick overall, never had a 20-goal season.
But he had an 8-point game that I called.
Yes.
Heck of a night.
We all remember that. Bursting on the scene. That was remarkable. Max Comtois, can he be a fit?
Surprising, because he's not in his 30s. He's a younger guy. He just didn't work for Anaheim. But think about him in Vegas. What did Vegas lose depth-wise? They lost Phil Kessel. You're not quite sure if Mark Stone's back can hold up the entire time. So you get a guy like Max Comtois under Bruce Cassidy, an incredible coach that can take physical tools and mold them into a more well-rounded player, and they might be onto something with him.
Okay.
And really, I think he's going to make them. He's already in Vegas skating a couple weeks ago. Like, I'm counting on him to make this team. I think he's an upgrade on what they have down there. Could move up if Stone gets injured. Makes a lot of sense. Plays big, plays physical, as does Vegas. I would be more surprised than not if he does not make it.
Grimmer, you said muscle memory talking about Jordie Benn. Similar concept. Danton Heinen, Boston Bruins.
Yes, Tones, your guy?
That's my guy, because he had his best years when he was a Boston Bruin. We see him here, obviously, with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Does that resonate with you in terms of the team knowing what they're getting and him knowing what he's getting on the other side?
Big time. Absolutely. Again, there's going to be lots of fluctuations in roles and stuff in Boston right now with the uncertainty with the centerman and everything else. He's been there before. He knows the coach knows him. Yeah. He'll be comfortable, which is part of the challenge. The players will know what he brings. Say, you know what, Dance is pretty good with us. So, yeah, it's a good decision to go there for him.
You're going to need to be a little creative in Boston going forward. I mean, you're missing some big pieces down the middle, up front, and you're going to be asking other folks, not necessarily Heinen, to play higher in that roster. Heinen fills in at a depth spot.
And they remember what he did when he was there last time around.
He's good enough that I'm surprised he's even in this situation. He's good enough that he warrants a contract around the NHL. So he'll probably get one in Boston or somewhere else.
These guys that are on PTOs are, in some cases, trying to extend their career.